The game systems category also includes procedural generation tools. Let's go through a few scenes to show you what the procedural generation tools look like. So for example, we have this random character scene, and literally there's just one state in this sample scene. We have a little list of actions here that back to back should procedurally generate a bunch of characters. So it's going to build a 20 by 10 grid. Then it's going to instantiate this citizen prefab at each of those positions. It's going to build random sprite from these 7 layers that are set up. So this is bodies, pants, tops, hairs, hats, shields, and weapons. And you can see that if I put my mouse over this, it'll show you kind of what's in these current sprite lists. These are basically just, if I control click it, these are lists of sprites that are in our project. So it'll build a sprite out of all of these components, randomly picking from each of those. And then it takes whatever it created and it sets it as a sprite value. And then it builds a random name. Now, this one's kind of interesting. You have a few styles that you could pick from that are generic, elvish, dwarvish, orcish, sci-fi. At the very end, it just takes the game object of whatever the sprite was, and it gives them that name. So when I hit play, we create all these characters, right? Each one of these little guys. And you can see that they're all here, and they all have different names. Gugtron, Buza, Vozad, Konto, Nuno, and Drew Boy. So if I select Drew Boy, let's actually see which one Drew Boy is. Yeah, that looks like a Drew Boy to me. That's a Drew Boy if I've ever seen one. And you can see that the game object just has this brand new sprite on it that was procedurally generated. It's a single sprite that is a combination of several other sprites put together. Another example of procedural generation tools is to build dungeons and rogue maps. It creates this map. And what's great about this is that this is actually a viable grid to use that has a tile map for the floors and for the walls. And it has the colliders on it and everything. And so this is ready to be used with, for example, your 2D nav grid, little agents to be running around in it, the player could be running around in it. This is a pretty ready to go map. In this other example, it's a little bit more fleshed out, and we could see that you can also add start and end rooms. So I'm actually going to disable this tile so we could see it a little bit better. You can see that there is a room here and a room here. So there's ways to set up the procedural generation in which there's a room that the player can start in, as well as a sort of like final boss or treasure room. The FSM for this is also only a few states. It's not much different from building the level without those rooms. So you could put these procedurally generated dungeons made with PlayMaker 2's tile map generation, and you can combine that with PlayMaker 2's 2D nav grid. So you can see here, there's a preview of an agent path that goes from the start room to the end room. This is actually an agent's path. This is actually a viable path for an agent to take to get from one destination to another within this scene. Here's the cave map sample scene, and it's basically generated a map that has a central hub to it and all these branching cave paths that come out of it. And if I hit rebuild, you can see how quickly generates new variations of the same idea, always having a central hub and branches coming out of it. Here's the cavern map scene. And you can see that with these tools, you can author a very specific type of 2D map. And that each time I hit rebuild, while the map does come out different, it's at least following a new set of rules that makes it a very distinct style from the previous two that we were seeing. One was a more dungeon, very angular. The other one had all those many tendrils coming out of a single place every single time. And this one resembles more of one single large amorphous space.